If you want to be the best, you gotta put in the work.
Now, in terms of mechanics, drastically different from when I first came out. I used to be kind of a
over-the-top
linear
guy.
thrower. You'd look at some pictures in college, and there's sometimes I'm like this.
You gotta be able to identify your weaknesses and improve upon them. Let us take a look at 10 NFL players who were able to overcome their biggest weakness and become a true superstar. Josh Allen, accuracy. Much was made about Josh Allen when draft prognosticators started to speculate that the former University of Wyoming quarterback could be one of the top selections in the 2018 NFL Draft. After all, Wyoming isn't exactly known for being quarterback U, or really for turning out NFL prospects with any kind of regularity. And even beyond that, Allen was far from a blue chipper. He was a JUCO transfer who landed at Wyoming on the strength of his time at Reedley, during which he completed just 49% of his passes, but also displayed the physicality that has enticed people in and around the NFL ever since. His accuracy never really improved that much at Wyoming though. In the media, crushed Allen for this leading up to the draft. And, well, the naysayers got out to an early lead against the young quarterback, as he went 5-6 during 11 starts in year 1, completing just 52.8% of his passes, followed by 10-6 and 58.8% in year 2. At the time, people literally thought that Allen was holding the Bills back. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about now, ain't it? Anyway, 2020 was where it all came together for the young QB. Under the tutelage of Brian Dable and Ken Dorsey, Allen was able to become much more consistent, completing nearly 70% of his passes. Now, the Bills are a perennial Super Bowl contender, and Allen's name is regularly found on the short list of top quarterbacks in the league. Good thing he finally managed to kick the accuracy bug that has plagued him for all those years. Justin Reid, tackling. Justin Reid, a former third-round pick out of Stanford, has really proven himself as one of the top safeties in the league over the past couple of years, particularly since he escaped the clutches of the Houston Texans and joined up with the Kansas City Chiefs. What's strange is that Reid actually entered the NFL as one of the better tackling defensive backs, but it seemed like he developed some bad habits during his time in Houston. Unfortunately, winning seems to have revitalized him, and his ability to, or I guess more so, willingness to get down and dirty and make some physical tackles. Reid has become a much more formidable tackler, not just in terms of counting numbers, but on the tape. His PFF grade reflects that too. It jumped from a 50.9 mark in 2021 to 70.3 in 2022. Now that he's had a taste of team success and star status, let's see if he can keep it up. DK Metcalf, watching film. The former Mississippi wide receiver has gotten off to a pretty solid start in his young NFL career. For DK, like many star athletes, this sport has always come relatively easy to him. He probably never needed to get too far into the weeds preparation-wise in high school, or even college, because, well, he was just that much more athletic than his competition. That, of course, all changes at the NFL level. You know, when you're dealing with true professionals, and almost everyone that touches the field is a bona fide stud athletically. This was a lesson that Metcalf learned quickly during his rookie season, and from watching how some of the other veterans on the team like Bobby Wagner prepared, he realized he was missing out on an opportunity to improve on what was already a good start to his career. Metcalf began watching his own game tape and cut-ups of the best guys at his position to learn more about the nuances of their games. And considering the drastic jump that he made in year 2, not just production-wise, as he added 403 yards and 3 touchdowns to his stat line, but also in terms of being a more complete and consistent player, was undeniable. Dexter Lawrence, pass rushing. Much has been made about the astronomical leap that Daniel Jones took, and you know, rightfully so. But Dexter Lawrence, the former Clemson standout, dwarfed his quarterback growth-wise. 2022 was a heck of a year for Lawrence and the New York Giants. They brought in a new head coach in Brian Dable, who seemed to completely change the culture of a team that, frankly, was walking into the year, had zero expectations, possibly even negative expectations. And next thing you know, things are starting to click across the board, and they even managed to make the postseason in a competitive NFC East. And their young defensive tackle's growth, particularly as a pass rusher, was a big part of why. He was one of the top interior linemen in the league last year. His numbers were up across the board. Lawrence set new career highs with 7.5 sacks and 28 quarterback hits, nearly doubling his previous career marks of 4.0 and 11 respectively. He also set new career bests with 68 total tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 3 pass breakups, and 2 forced fumbles. And it has paid off not just for the Giants, but also for Lawrence in a pretty big way, as he recently inked a 4-year, $90 million extension with the team, 60 of it being guaranteed. Needless to say, New York was clearly eager to keep their budding star in town for the years to come. Getting that kind of pass rushing production out of an interior D lineman is very rare. George Kittle, route running. Ever since his days at the University of Iowa, there has never been any question about George Kittle's insane athleticism. At 6'4" and 250 pounds with a 4.52 speed and a 35-inch vertical jump, yeah, the man is a bona fide freak. Not to mention that he's got all the physicality needed to hold off even the league's best defensive linemen. With all that speed and strength, it's kind of a wonder that Kittle fell to the 5th round in the 2017 draft, but he, for whatever reason, struggled to stand out amongst a deep tight end class that included 3 first-round selections in O.J. Howard, Evan Ingram, and David Njoku. I think at this point it's pretty safe to say that Kittle has lapped all of them and then some. He is quietly putting himself in the discussion for one of the best all-around tight ends to ever play the position. But the question remains, how did Kittle ascend to stardom? After all, this is a guy who started just 7 games his rookie year and was solid, catching 43 passes for 515 yards and 2 tutters, but he wasn't anything to write home about, being nothing more than a cheap imitation of the All-Pro we've grown accustomed to seeing pretty much ever since his 2nd year in the league. Well, for Kittle, the big difference maker was really honing his route running skills. That right there is what took him to the next level. He went from being a guy that could get kind of open but had to lean on his athleticism to make a play, to now possessing the savvy of a vet, who also happens to be a freak of nature. And as we've seen, that is a pretty devastating combination for opposing defenses to try and deal with. Dalvin Cook, injury prone. Cook was one of the most explosive running backs we'd seen in some time and put up monster numbers, particularly during his last 2 years on campus when he averaged over 2,000 scrimmage yards and 20 total touchdowns each season. He ultimately was not taken until the 2nd round, as some teams had concerns about his off-the-field history, and of course the overall devaluation of the running back position. What's crazy is, though, it looked like the Minnesota Vikings were going to end up ruining the decision to take Cook, even with a 2nd rounder, because the young running back simply could not stay on the field. He got off to a great start his rookie year, but tore his ACL week 4, which cost him the remainder of the season. The following year, it was a hamstring that plagued him all year and cost him 6 games and forced him into a platoon with Latavius Murray. To his credit, though, Dalvin seems to have figured out a better way to manage his health. He is coming off a 2022 season in which he played a full season for the first time in his career, and in each of the 3 years prior, he missed 4 or fewer games. Not perfect, but a marked improvement. And considering he was a Pro Bowler all 4 years, I'd say enough for him to have proven himself as a star. Caleb McGary. Run blocking. It can be tough for offensive linemen to get the shine that they truly deserve. Life in the trenches is far from glamorous. That said, Caleb McGary did pretty well to turn some heads with his epic 2022 season, which came a mere months after the team declined their 5th-year option on the former first-rounder. A cynic might say that McGary was just putting in more effort during a contract year. But upon closer observation, it's pretty clear that the young tackle actually had improved leaps and bounds from the year prior, particularly as a run blocker, both technically and within the team's system. That actually might be a bit of an understatement, as among tackles, McGary's 91.8 run blocking grade was 2nd best in the league, behind only San Francisco 49ers' Trent Williams, who is widely regarded as one of the best linemen in the league. Anytime a player is mentioned in the same breath as someone with the talent that Williams has, it's a pretty good sign that they've tackled whatever weakness was keeping them from stardom. Patrick Queen, coverage. Sometimes all it takes is a new opportunity for a player to realize their full potential. And that is what we witnessed play out with Patrick Queen last year after Baltimore paired him with an all-pro vet in Roquan Smith. Smith's presence and tutelage helped Queen take his game to the next level. He set career highs in tackles, sacks, interceptions, and passes defended. Clearly, his entire skill set improved, but no aspect more so than his ability in coverage. And the team benefited from this. The Ravens D allowed just 14.7 points per game in the 9 games after Smith arrived. Unfortunately, they missed out on true contention because of Lamar's ailing health. Next year, if Jackson can just stay healthy and Queen and Smith can recreate what they did down the stretch in 2022, the Ravens are gonna be a pretty scary team to deal with. Justin Fields, passing. The There was never any question about the former Ohio State signal caller's athleticism. Justin Fields is a freak among freaks, and he put that on display last year, rushing for an insane 1,143 yards as a quarterback. But what really sent a shot of hope through the Bears fan base last year was watching Fields develop as a passer. It is clear that he has put in the work to improve on his footwork and pocket presence. And now that the Bears have actually brought in some top-line talent at the wide receiver position with the acquisition of DJ Moore, this newfound competency should really be put on display. Evan Ingram, game preparation / watching film. The bright city lights aren't for everyone. Something that Evan Ingram has exemplified with his recent career resurgence down in Jacksonville. There was never any question about the former New York Giants first-round pick's talents, but Ingram really struggled during his time in New York to develop as a professional. He was just too inconsistent. But apparently, the big gap for him was around his preparation. The work he was putting into the game physically and mentally just wasn't enough. And that all changed for Ingram down in Duval. As he explained, it was the first time in my career where I didn't want to leave the building. It was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm in the building, just staying because I want to work. I want to watch more film. I'm staying with Dexter Lawrence after the day is over, watching film with him. Funny how that works. You start working harder, and all of a sudden, it just starts to come together. But which NFL player do you think most overcame their biggest weakness to become a superstar? Was there anyone that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.